Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. My name is Oluyemi Adeosun. Tonight, we'll be looking at the topic, a very critical topic in my opinion, titled Building HR Structure for Business Growth. And our facilitator tonight is Elijah Abumoye, and he's a prince. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very privileged and honored to have him facilitate this session for us tonight. And Elijah is a dynamic human resource professional and also business partner with over 7 years experience and proven track record, driving organizational growth and team development. He has served in 6 different states in Nigeria, 1 East African country, and 1 Middle Eastern country. He has also verified skills in business management, strategic management, sales management, company restructuring, and critical business process expansion. He has also worked across industries that spans real estate, logistics, quick service restaurants, and consulting. He's the founder of Traction Outsourcing Limited, a safe and growing business environment where business and people management in the core of activities. Ladies and gentlemen, engaging with us tonight on the topic Building HR Structure for Business Growth, I present to us Prince Elijah Abumoye. You have the floor, my brother.
Thank you so much, sir. It's really a privilege to be here, and I'm really happy that we'll be able to share some nuggets with the community here. Thank you so much, Dr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Appreciate you, sir. All right, so today we'll be talking about building HR structure for business growth. And the idea of this training is to merge the growth of a business with HR. A lot of businesses, in my opinion, they do not really understand or fully appreciate the role of HR. And then coupled with the fact that everybody sees HR as a recruiter nowadays. They think HR is just a person that comes to recruit people, hire, fire, and just discuss 1 or 2 things in the organization. There's nothing tying the HR role with the structure of a business or the growth of the business, the bottom line of the business. So the idea of this conversation tonight is to tie those 2 ends together. How can you merge the HR role to the structure and the growth of a business? So today we're talking about 3 basic areas. The first area is HR business stewardship. Second area is HR structure for business effectiveness, and the third one is the HR business framework. So the first part being HR business stewardship is talking about how you can serve your business as a HR officer or HR manager. Every role in a business is serving the business. From the CEO to the COO to the security, everybody is serving some part of that business value chain. So how do you now integrate HR properly into the business to the point that your role as a HR is not seen as a role that anybody can just do? It means that your chair in this grand scheme of things is not a chair that anybody can just sit on. So that's the first part we're going to be going into. And that part is very important because it forms the foundation of what we think a business is from the HR perspective. Right, so I'm talking about 3 parts in this area: the talent, the culture, and compliance. Now, as we go deeper into this stewardship of the HR business partnership, we are asking ourselves basic questions. If I were to leave this company today, and there's no replacement for me, how important is my role to that business? Will the business feel my absence? If I go to my boss today to ask for a raise, for example, will my boss say, you know what, I don't even think your role is even important, leave? Would that be his response? Or would he be thinking about how to offer me more value for what I'm bringing to the table as an HR officer. Is my role enough, or there are other areas that are needed? When it comes to justifying my role as a HR officer, do I need to self-grandize my role or myself? Or is my value to that business enough to speak for me? So we're looking at three areas: talent, culture, and compliance. If there's any part you can't hear from everything I'm saying, please raise up your hand and or just text in the chat box so that I can go back to it. Right. So, of course, we're moving away from a particular area in HR. A lot of, as I said earlier, a lot of businesses see HR as that person that just do one or two things in organization. And generally, it's about administration. And the areas go from tax support, record keeping, to workplace communications management and operations overview. And this is what a lot of HR officers do in their workplaces, in reality. All you do is just help people in the workplace, which is very good. Keep records of whatever is going on, which of course involves human capital management, workplace communications management, and operations overview, and usually operations support. That's what a lot of people do, a lot of us do in our workplaces. But then we want to move away from this basic area of HR to another part of HR. This other part of HR is called this strategic growth driver. We're not just trying to be that person that does these four things I mentioned here, but you want to be somebody who drives growth to the value that you put into the organization, into the business. Now, the reason we brought up this area of HR business stewardship is that when you look into Nigeria today, only a few companies are worth offering the kind of value that we think we deserve. And those few companies, of course, it means that only a few people can enter those companies as HR officer or HR manager or payroll administrator or whatever area of HR you want to be, you want to tag yourself as. The rest of us, we will end up working in smaller businesses, SMEs, as it were, SMEs, and we would have to serve in these companies. These companies have a different, need. They're not just looking for someone that is book smart or someone that just wants to tell them what is globally accepted, the global standards. They want someone who will drive their business to where they want to be. They want someone that would help them to grow their business. They want a partner in their business in the form of a HR professional. So as a strategic growth driver, there are four areas that you are looking at excelling at. The first part is the talent management. Second part is culture. Third part is the compliance. And the fourth part is productivity. Every business is looking at these four parts. A lot of CEOs reach out and say, oh, I want someone who will help my staff to be efficient. I want them to be efficient at their job because now they've hired staff. The staff are not giving them what they believe they should give them. So they want the HR that will come and make them effective. And of course, they want the professional to help them to drive that growth. So in other words, they are asking you without actually saying it that they want you to work on four areas of the business. These four areas typically involves the talent management. How do you manage our talent from the onboarding to the exit? How do we ensure that those that we have on ground, they're able to do their job well and able to give us value for the amount of money I'm paying them at the end of the month? So a lot of people may look at it as, oh, I want to serve people well. They should get their benefits while they're working. But a business owner is looking at how much he's going to pay at the end of the month and is asking himself, is this payment justified? Is what I'm getting from these people, is it justified? Is this justified amount of money I'm going to shell out of my account at the end of the month? So a lot of these small businesses, I said earlier, SMEs are businesses that have about 50 million naira in asset or thereabout. And these people do not think of value the same way an MTN would think of value. They don't have base structure for departmentalization. So in other words, they want everybody to just give them what they want for them to be able to make enough money and then shell out money at the end of the month for the value that they get. So talent management is key to them. They want to make sure that this HR officer is giving them, or the HR manager is helping their staff to be more effective at work. The culture. Now, some CEOs are also very, they're very candid. They will tell you the truth that, hey, I don't think I can manage these people well. I don't think I talk to people very well. There's where I talk to people that they will not appreciate it. So I need you to be the mouthpiece of the organization. I want you to talk to people in a way that it can carry the weight of the message I want to pass to them properly, appropriately. That means you are a driver for the culture that the organization wants to be or wants to be seen. There's something about the way people behave in an organization that tells the kind of mentality that they have in that organization. And that comes from the culture. So 25% of what you probably are doing at the workplace would also involve growing the culture and helping to put things in place. Then compliance as well, and then productivity. So these are the 4 basic areas that as an HR officer or HR manager in a growing environment we want to look at. Now, why did we tag this HR business stewardship? We're tagging it stewardship because it is you trying to serve that business. As I said earlier, every single person in the organization is meant to serve the business. That is the goal. And when you see it that way, you would see it as whatever it is I want to serve you, there has to be an incentive for me to serve you. Every staff that is being employed into that business, the first thing that comes up during that engagement is, this is what I know you can do, that skills that you've demonstrated you can give, this is what I know I can also give you in return. So when you see employment as a business partnership between a staff and an employer, then you understand that HR business stewardship is exactly what you should embody in a growing environment. Now, I mentioned earlier that the businesses that we want to be, for example, when I was starting my career, I wanted to serve in a consulting firm, right? And one of the goals was to be a key driver in wherever I find myself. Now, of course, as a fresh core member, at that time, I wanted to earn, I'm talking about 8 years ago or thereabout, I wanted to earn at least 800,000 naira or like 1 billion or thereabout. I wanted to be the big boy, obviously. I felt I was smart, right? But whatever application I was sending to my target companies, I also understand that there are about maybe 1,000 other people studying at the same time. It's even worse when they put out an advert for that role. That means they probably have to go to thousands of applications. And of course, there's the ATS as well. So if my CV was not good enough, the ATS would just have put it aside and only a few will still get on. So at the end of the day, that now brings me down to the small businesses. Those are we call small businesses, right? So at the moment, I'm going to do a small calculation. Let's put it together, just to put this in perspective, so we can understand exactly where we stand and understand why it's important for us to get in touch with the realities on ground. Now, let's imagine that there are 10 businesses on your street, 10 businesses that are doing very well, SMEs that are doing well. When I say doing well, the entire asset that are sitting on is 50 million naira. So they're doing okay as an SME. Now, each of these SMEs, they already have what they want to achieve. They know what they want to be. They know where their business plan is taking them to. A lot of times they don't start with an HR. Their plan, their structure does not start with HR manager. It starts with probably a salesperson, an assistant, someone who they believe will help them to drive the growth of their business at that early stage. So at the end of the day, out of 10 businesses, maybe only one will have an HR officer or HR manager in their midst. So what that means is this, that if we will now put that into perspective and there are about 44 million SMEs according to data that we have in Nigeria. That means that we have about 4.4 million HR officers or administrative professionals in Nigeria that are in this same group of HR business stewardship. It means that there are about 4.4 million people that are either serving as HR officers or administrative professionals. And that, of course, means that each one of them will need to understand these 4 basic elements of HR strategy. Let's move on. So what this is trying to make you understand is if you do not have a good understanding or a good foundation of these 4 areas, it may be very hard for you to move on in that organization. And that is why a lot of business CEOs, they end up complaining about the role of HR and the value they bring to the table. So what are the structures that you need to bring on board to help these businesses move on? So earlier we talked about structure earlier. We said that in talent management and productivity, you need to put in structure that will help the business to grow. So what are the structures that you have to put in for business effectiveness? Now, there are 3 systems that you want to look at. At the bottom part of the screen, you see policy, processes, and systems. The policies, the processes, and the systems. When you build policies, they become processes. The processes becomes a system through which that business operates internally. So when you talk about policies, you're looking at the recruitment factor, onboarding, performance management, commission and benefits, workplace management, work modes, and all those areas. When you think of processes, you think of succession planning, you think of your training and development models, you think of your exit process handling, you think of appraisals, you think of employee relations. When you think of systems, you think of the employee database, the HR analytics, the compliance tools, the payroll, and the HRs that you have within your organization. Now, my conversation is more tailored towards HR professionals and admin professionals that are in SMEs. So you may not end up having a fancy HRS. You may have to work around that. And obviously, at the end of the day, you might probably have to settle down with an Excel sheet or Google Sheet. But at the end of the day, this has to be the foundation with which you plan and you build your HR stewardship within your organization. If you do not create policies around the recruitment, it means that anybody can just waltz into your recruitment, into your meetings or your interviews, and they will take over your interview session from you. There have been sessions, and I think that there are many times when an HR officer will be in interview sessions and one senior manager just walk in and take over the entire interview session from them. And they'll say, what is that thing you are doing yourself? What's important about it? What is that special thing about what you're doing? And why would it be easier for them to do that? It will be because there's no policy around your recruitment. There's no outline model with which your recruitment is following or will be followed. A lot of times you don't need to have fancy titles or fancy certificates for you to understand these basic things. But if you want to build business effectiveness and you want to give value to the business that you're working with, then you need to build policies around these areas. When new entrants or new joiners come into your organization, what do they experience? Because this forms a part of your culture. How do you handle performance management? How do you handle your commission and benefits? I also understand that a lot of these areas are not controlled by these HR professionals in this organization, because the lower you go within the cadre of business of business acumen, the lower you go for these small businesses, the more you realize that a lot is out of the hands of the HR managers or HR or admin managers. Hence, you may need to have you may need to go back to the area I talked about earlier. Now, that area is having a good conversation with whoever is handling that business. So it could end up being an MD that's employed for that business. I had an interaction with a radio station some time ago. And in that station, the owner of the station is not in Nigeria. So he just poured in money and then employed an MD. Now, the MD also has a friend who comes to the business and they work hand in hand together. At the end of the day, the staff realized that anytime they need anything from the MD, they have to go through his friend who comes around all the time, but has no position, comes around all the time, and that friend will now tell the MD whose idea to accept and whose idea not to accept. So at the end of the day, what has happened is there's really no structure. Whatever it is you believe there was structure in that kind of place will be non-existent. So how do you handle that kind of environment as a HR officer? It's important that as you are coming into an environment, you put out your terms and conditions as it were. Now, it may seem counterproductive if we say put out your terms and conditions, but it just forms the basis of how you're going to continue to work in that environment for the long term. If you carry your role with a hand of levity, they will also help you carry with that same hand. Now, I'm speaking again to HR officers and HR managers in small businesses because we are in groups where people come and ask questions on this is what my boss did to me, how do I handle it? And it always comes from how you have been communicating and managing your boss from the beginning. So a lot of the policies I want to put in place, you need your boss to appraise them, and you need your boss to tell you go ahead to implement these policies. Now, if from the beginning your boss sees you as a pushover, it becomes almost impossible for you to be able to implement these policies in the workplace. And of course, that means that the value you give will be very, very reduced. So as you understand now that you need to put in these policies, that means that we have to go back to ensuring that from the beginning, you lay out the ground rules. Now, these ground rules would involve explaining that this is exactly what you want to achieve. We're going to get to a point in this conversation where we are able to have that discussion. We would plan on having a discussion on the things that you want to achieve. Again, businesses are built for profit. And if a business does not understand how all of these things, the policies, processes, and system tied to profit making at the end of the day, they will find it very hard to see your role as an important part of that business process. So building HR structures for business effectiveness goes beyond just paperwork and putting document over document in a file on your computer. It involves ensuring that these areas are being implemented and they're being accepted and are being used in the organization. So you don't want to be a pushover in your recruitment processes. You don't want to be a pushover when you are onboarding your staff. You don't want to be a pushover when you are implementing work modes in your business environment. You want to implement processes that help to drive change. You want to implement processes that help to drive change. Now, ensure that whatever system you have on ground in the company you're working with, ensure that that system involves succession planning. Your boss needs to trust the fact that when somebody is leaving, that will not be the end of the business, and that you are in charge of that process of assuring that the business does not die when their star player leaves the organization. So if your CEO understands and realizes that you are in charge of that area, of course, it means that it can go for more exploits. It can go visioning. It can go on to start seeing more or looking for more areas to conquer while he leaves you to handle the home base. The same thing happens with training and development. While you may not understand every part of your business, the CEO has to realize again that you are in charge of ensuring that the staff members are getting enough information and are also improving their skills from time to time. and also that your exit processes are handled properly. Again, these are processes. So that means that they are outlined in quotes, laws that guide these processes. There are policies that guide these processes. That's what it means. So it means that whenever a staff is leaving, there's already a communicated process that everybody knows every staff has to undertake. Of course, there are going to be outliers. There are going to be areas or times when this does not work for certain people because of their temperament or because of their unique situation. But the norm has to also be the norm. And it cannot be a norm unless it is an agreed process in the organization. When issues come down to certain people that are power players in the organization, they should be confident to point to you that this is the person that handles the processes in this organization. And if there's anything that you need, go back to this person to approve or to not approve it. The same thing goes for appraisals and employee relations. Now, from these processes, you can build systems. These systems ensure that even if you were to leave, the company does not die as well. And this just changes the game for you. Changes the game in the sense that it makes you not just someone that cannot be let go anyhow or anytime. It makes you someone that is able to give value from time to time. There are going to be times in the business that a CEO will look at it and say, I think I want to take a rest. I want to take a beat. Every businessman thinks that way. From the beginning to the end, they're thinking, you know what? I think I've been doing this for too long. I probably have to go rest. But the system they put in place is what helps them to move on. A lot of businessmen will not tell you, or business professionals will not tell you, but at the end of the day, it is the people that are in the business that helps them to keep going on and or to not keep going on at the same time. And if the people in the business are not being handled well by the person that is managing the people, then that means there's going to be a problem. Your boss will want to give up from time to time. So you're looking at, again, as I said earlier, 4 areas. You want to ensure that that organization has a structure. The first thing is all about structure. Now, you get into businesses where they have no structure. As I said, we're talking about SMEs. So a lot of SMEs don't have any structure on ground. And some businesses will tell you they don't even need structure. Again, that speaks to the fact that they don't see HR as an important part of their business. So you have to build a structure. Now, why do you need to build a structure for your business? A lot of people just assume that, yes, it's good to have a structure, but why? What is the point of having a structure for your business? You see, there are 2 kinds of structure that your business is to have. As an HR manager, you need to tell your CEOs that there are 2 types of structure your business is to have. There's a current structure, that is how the business is right now, or how the business should be right now. And there's a future structure, that is how the business wants to become. Of course, a lot of businesses have business plans. If there's a business plan, there's a vision in the head of the business owner. They want to be something in their head. And that something involves something big, often a billion-dollar company that has branches in 15 countries, all of those big stuff, of course. So now when you create an organization that helps to bring that to life on a screen, and when you create a structure, I mean to say, that brings that to life on a screen, the CEO can understand that you also understand the vision that he has. There's nothing as beautiful as seeing someone that understands your vision. And business owners want to also appreciate the fact that the HR person in the organization, this professional in the organization, understands their vision. And that vision comes from the structure of the business. So in the vision statement of the business, they probably have written it down that they want to be the foremost #1 everything in this industry, all over Africa, all over Middle East, all over West Africa, all over the world. It is there. So when you create a structure that involves that vision, they're able to see clearly that you understand the vision. Now, the next step is now to bring them down to reality and say, well, this is what you want to achieve. This is what I believe will work at the moment. Then you create a structure for them. Now, that structure I'm talking about at this point in time just involves the organizational design. So you create that organizational design for them, and they see that this is where they are, this is where you are, these are the people okay. Okay, this is a question. So I'm going to get to the question very soon so that well, maybe after this slide, but I see it. So what it means is they can see their own position, they can see where you are. They can also see exactly where each member of the team is. And they can also see available roles that need to be filled to achieve the vision, to achieve that vision in the long run. So for example, they have created a goal for themselves. This is a goal for the business, this is what we want to achieve. Now, these are the places that need to be filled to achieve that goal. These are the areas that need to be filled to achieve this goal. So when you are able to project this clearly to the business owners or to your bosses, they are able to understand where you're coming from, and you can also come to an understanding of how the business will be handled and managed. Then there's a part of talent acquisition programs. Now, there's no HR professional I've seen that does not have a problem with recruitment, right? And talent acquisition goes beyond just recruitment, putting adverts here and there everywhere. Of course, at this moment, you may have to start looking at different alternatives. Sometimes it may be that you would have to go look for this candidate yourself. Sometimes you may have to invite in a recruiter or recruitment agency. But the issue here is that, again, as an SME, every business owner is looking for how to cut down costs. They don't want to spend money on a consultant or another recruiter or anybody. So when you go and meet them and say, hey, I need 300,000 to give this recruiter to bring in other stuff for us, they'll say, what are you here for? Why am I paying you salary? That's the next question. So again, they expect that you're able to fill these roles by yourself because that is, again, that's one of the value they believe your role should bring to them. So you now have to create talent acquisition programs that would ensure that you get an influx of candidates from time to time. One of such program is an internship program. Look for areas in your business, in that business that you're working with, that you can create an internship program in that area of the business. Now, that internship program will now bring in people. You can decide, oh, do this for us and we'll give you this in return. You can create a certificate program. Look into your industry. Look at what is accepted and what is not accepted. When people go through that internship, at the end of the 6-month or 1-year internship, they get certificates that they have learned certain areas of that business, which they can then use to get a job somewhere else, or probably will be retained by the company. So that ensures that you have a consistent pool of candidates to bring on board. But that also ensures also that these interns already understand to some extent the policies and processes and systems that you have already set up in the last slide. So it's a lot more easier for them to acclimatize themselves to your culture than someone from another place entirely. I'm not sure if this makes sense to anybody. Right. And then there's a part of performance management programs. Ensuring that every single person in the organization is well incentivized to do their job well. How do you ensure that everybody in the organization is getting what they deserve to do their job? Now, what they deserve is subjective, obviously, very, very subjective, because again, we all want the best for ourselves and we all believe we are giving our best. But when people see us, they can tell the truth. They know that we're not giving our best. And obviously, they can also see that there are areas that we need to improve on, which will, of course, affect the kind of value that we get in return. But again, that is where you have systems. That's where you have processes, and that's where you have policies. Because this will help everybody to understand that, hey, I understand that this is what you want. However, this is what the company needs. This is the kind of value that the company needs, because this is what we want to achieve. If you can give us this, we can assure you that you also get this in return. This comes as part of creating the structure, because, hey, every business owner will wish that they could get people to work for them for free, if possible. If there's a law that says everybody work for free, SMEs are everywhere. They'll take it up. But they also need to understand that the job that people are doing, they have to be compensated well, because that is what will help them to do more work. So you have to create a program and manage that area very well, so that you're not just getting people to work for you, but they are also able to be compensated very well, and also their performance is being managed very well as well. So you create programs that will ensure that your appraisal systems are fair. You can also join communities like the one you have right now, HR mentorship community, that also enable you to bring in people. There are a lot of, by the way, I've seen that a lot of HR officers, HR professionals, I don't know why I keep saying officers, HR professionals, I see that we are more community minded than we give ourselves the kudos for. Right, we actually help ourselves a lot. There are a lot of I've been to Enugu. I worked in Enugu, and when I was in Enugu, I met a lot of HR professionals that would come around and would share ideas together. These are people I've not met before. Well, I only met them on group chats. And how do we meet? Just conversations on group chat. So a lot of things can happen. So again, when you don't have competency in certain areas, you can always bring in people that are like-minded that can also help you to grow in those areas. Then communication and engagement program is very important. Now, this is not entirely a fancy program in itself. Rather, it is just the mode of communication that ensures that every single part of our business is well communicated to every single person in the company. And you have to be the front runner of that area, of that program. You have to be the front runner of engaging your staff and communicating to them effectively what the business is trying to achieve. Communicate with them effectively what the business needs to achieve, where the business is going to. Some HR professionals are blessed with good CEOs that can do this job very well. But a lot of business owners do not have public speaking ability. They cannot speak publicly, even to their own staff. So a lot of us actually, for example, for myself, I stammer sometimes, right? And so I have to learn how to speak. Sometimes I speak very fast. So these are some abilities that we don't have, right? All of us don't have. So as an HR professional, you may have its ability in that area. However, you would have to devise a way to ensure that everybody gets the point of that business where it's going to. Now, the good thing about this area is when you're able to communicate effectively and engage your staff effectively, the performance is going to improve, because now everybody is on board on where we are going to. It's now all hands on deck. That's the word. Also means that everybody understands their job role more than just what's written on the paper. Everybody understands how to ensure that their job does not falter or digress the goal for that month or for that quarter or for that year. It also helps the staff members to align their own personal goals with the business goals. It's very possible for you to find people whose personal goals align with the business goals and whose personal improvement in their own private lives can only be achieved when the company's goals are achieved. Now, this may sound cheeky, but there are a lot of businesses that there are staff members in those businesses are praying for the business to succeed and are working hard for it to succeed because the success of that company gives them credence in that industry. They can go out and say, oh, I was able to achieve 1, 2, 3 in this company, and that is why it is where it is today. This was my contribution to this big company you are seeing here. And that gives them lifelong career opportunities. And the same thing can go for you too. So this communication and engagement program is one of the most important areas of what you want to impute into the business environment at that time. Right, so I'm going to go up here and then see if there are areas that I've missed out. Okay, so Nick said on the business side of a law firm, for a law firm, aside from putting in place policies, process and systems that ensure optimal performances by staff and curb excessive expenses, what practical steps are there to bring in business for a law firm? Is it only to encourage staff to bring clients? Would you lose responsibility from a persona in the law firm? Thank you. Okay, so I think this question is for the entire class, and not just for me alone. I've not worked in law firm before, right? But if you're looking for how to help the staff to bring in business for the law firm, probably in your own system, everybody has to bring in business, right? Your law partner or the person heading the law firm wants everybody to bring in business for the law firm, right? So you can look for how did the business get to where it is at the moment? How did the business start? The business owner decided to start a law firm and they started bringing in business. Now it wants people that he has accepted or employed to the business to also bring in business as well. So in that case, it may be that people are not bringing in business because when they bring in business, there's nothing in it for them. So I bring a client right now. The clients now, you're charging a client 10 million naira for a service, probably to draft the deed of assignment, or probably to help the person through a particular process, maybe divorce process. And you charge the client 10 million naira. What do I get out of it? What is my own gain out of this? How do I ensure that I get something out of this business that's coming to the company? And one thing I realized also is that there are certain tasks that lawyers can do irrespective of what they major in. For example, I realized that almost all lawyers can draft deed of assignment. That's a legal land document. So what is the incentive of bringing someone to the law firm to come and for the law firm to take over their deed of assignment process? What is the incentive? So you may need to look at the incentivizing that process of staff bringing in business into the company. Then how to curb excessive expenditure. How to curb, I don't know what kind of expenditure you have, but it depends on the kind of expenditure that you are having. What does it mean by excessive expenditure? What are the areas that you're spending money on? I don't even have an accountant, but the accountant should understand these areas, should be able to group down the expenses. This is what we're spending money on: operations, buying diesel, logistics. What are we spending money on exactly? And excessive is subjective. It depends. When you say excessive to who? Excessive to who? Is it to you from your own perspective, or is it to the CEO? So if your company is making 10 million naira and you're spending 2 million naira, that could be termed excessive. But the other company is spending 2 million naira but making 100 million will not be excessive. So What do you mean by excessive? I'm going to assume that you're spending much more than you should be spending. So of course, that will mean you want to cut down areas that you are spending too much money on. So what are the areas you're spending money on? You have to itemize those areas. How do you cut down expenses in certain areas? Can't just cut down expenses generally, right? So let's move on. I'm sure we can find a way around that afterwards. So as I said earlier, there are different phases of a business. You have to help the business owner to understand that you understand their vision and that you can bring that up to life. So there's a current look of the business, and the business will go through three main stages. There are several stages, but they're all grouped into three main stages. There's a foundational startup phase, which is where a lot of SMEs are going to be. Then there is the fast growth phase. That is where a business is going beyond just being an SME. And then there's a maturity phase or scale-up phase, where of course they're becoming what we now call big companies. So while a lot of us, a majority of us, we end up working with the foundational startup phase companies and growth phase companies, we'll also realize that this is where I know you want to be, and this is what I think it's going to look like. So being able to project that to business owners helps to create business effectiveness in the long run. Again, this is a combination of a lot of things that you're doing together. If all of these things are not being done, it makes it a lot more easier for the business owners or the businesses to realize that your role is not important to that business. So again, our conversation in this entire discussion here is building a business structure as an HR professional from the HR perspective. So let's move on. So now we want to build a HR business framework that involves strategy and again, frameworks. So there's this 7S model that we all probably used to. It's called the McKinsey 7S model, right? In the middle of this model are shared values because that is what holds them together. There is structure, there's style, there's skills, there's staff, there's systems, and there's strategy. There's structure, there's style, skills, staff, systems, and strategy. All of this is held together by shared values. And this, again, lays credence to what I said earlier, which is first structure. You need to build a structure that the business is going to be on. Now, again, down to our Nigerian environment, a lot of businesses will not state exactly what structure they want. They have this vision in their heads and probably in paper. This is where they want to be. So I always advise that you build or you just create two different organizational structure. So you are able to show your business owner, this is the structure of the vision you are having. However, this is the structure that we have right now. This also curbs unnecessary recruitment where you hire for the wrong role. You don't need that role at the moment, but you hire it because it costs. I mean, why not? Then someone comes to that role, and person does not have job satisfaction. That person does not have peace. That person is burnt out. That person will be employed for one role, but ends up doing something else entirely because you just realize that that role is not needed. You don't have the framework needed to make that role effective. So, but then if you don't have a current structure that the business needs to be at the moment, then you will keep making that kind of mistakes. You will end up seeing that a lot of businesses in there trying to have a structure, they will probably not even have salespeople in their businesses, but they want everybody to start making sales. You have structure where you have a social media manager that is different from a content creator. Meanwhile, you understand that where the business is at the moment, you need one person that can actually function those two roles and marry it together. But that is where you are at the moment. So there has to be a reality of what we are and the reality of where we want to be. And we cannot confuse that together. Same thing goes for the skills needed for everybody to give value back to the business. Same thing goes for the structure, goes for the systems, goes for the strategy as well. I don't want to overflow this because there's a lot of resources online for this part. It's called the McKinsey 7S model, right? But I like it when we bring this model down to the Nigerian environment and we're able to practically apply it into our own environment here, right? But this model is what I really, really love, which is the Altris HR model. Here, we are grouping 4 areas together, which is the futuristic area, the people, the operational area, and the process area. Again, remember I was talking about now and in the future. So we're looking at how to be a change agent in your organization, how to ensure that there's something that you are adding to the organization that will bring a change and will also impact the staff positively. Now, how do you also ensure that when there's a change in the organization, it is accepted positively as well? And that goes back to what I said earlier about communication. Now, being an employee champion here and being an administrative expert also come hand in hand in ensuring that you have the skill set that is needed to drive the change in the organization. And then strategic partnerships, internally and externally. Now, while this model is basically for the HR professional in the organization, can also be applied to helping the business grow. You have to understand that as the business owner goes out for more exploits and tries to continue to envision and conquer more territories, they also need to have strategic partnerships that will help the business to grow. So laying some of the what do I call it right now? Laying some of that away from that burden, away from the staff. I say, oh, everybody go and sell, go and sell, go and sell, go and sell, go and sell. It may be better for us to have partnership with people where we don't have to make payment to them, but they can help us to achieve our goal and can get something in return. So, for example, if I'm a legal, what was that earlier? That lady. If I were to be working in a law firm, right? How about I have a strategic partnership with a media firm? We can handle certain areas of their legal needs, and then they can also put us everywhere. This happens in certain areas. For example, I've seen it happen in Lagos. I've seen this happen in Enugu. I've seen this happen in Ibadan, where companies partner with media firms or advertisement and PR firms. You partner with them, and then they will put you on billboards. You don't have to pay them anything. They'll put you on billboards, put you on in malls. People will get to know you. You will get more clients from there. In return, you handle their legal needs, or whatever business you are in. You handle whatever needs they have that will be of value to them. So this area is strategic partnership for the business. And you can learn down from this Altris HR model. Well, again, the model is meant for the HR profession, but this can also be applied to the business itself. So this takes away some burden from the staff. It takes you away from having to employ a social media manager. The person comes into your organization, you already have a content creator organization. Now you're not asking the social media manager to go and sell. If not, they will be sacked. Right. Then, again, as I said earlier, being the change agent is very important. So there are 4 areas I want to look at here, which is futuristic, the people, operational area, and the process area. Right. If you have any questions, please feel free. So at the end of the day, this is what we're trying to say. right? What we're trying to say. We're trying to say that please over-communicate your role. It is not enough that you are doing well. You know you are doing well. You cannot know you are doing well. People have to say you are doing well. So, in organization, your business owner or your CEO or your MD has to understand what you are trying to achieve from the beginning, from the get-go. Communicate your vision as it aligns with the company goals. Share your passion for achieving your goals, especially the ones that directly fuel company growth. Of course, there will be something about the company that tickles your fancy. That's the in quote, right? There's something about the company that you just like, that you feel you really like, and probably it aligns with your own personal values. So share that as well. Let your passion be seen that, hey, this person likes this, and that's why she is very passionate about this area of our business. That helps business owners to be more self-aware and also appreciate your role as well. Document your achievements and processes. Document your achievement and processes is very important, because if you don't document your achievement and processes, of course, people forget things a lot. Now, when we say people forget things a lot, I'm not saying that they will overlook your successes or the things you've done so far. But the thing is, when things are going well in an environment, it is easy for people to see it as a norm. Now, that's a good thing, and applause to you, because the good things are not a norm. However, people may start seeing that as it is normal. So if you don't document these areas, the amount of work that you put in to make this thing normal will not be known. So it's important that you are able to communicate these achievements and also document them as well. Document your policies. In fact, it's not possible for you to have a policy that's not documented. Document your processes, because again, it's not possible for you to have processes that are not documented. And then you have systems which are governed by these processes and policies. Again, don't stop communicating. Don't stop communicating. Don't stop communicating all of these areas I've mentioned so far. Understand the business you intend to nurture. Now, the area of being a business steward, it is that you are nurturing that business. Understand the business you intend to nurture. So there was a group I was in, and someone shared information about their boss talking in the way they didn't like. And of course, we heard it and we all agreed that that wasn't nice, right? Excuse me. However, we also realized that the HR professional in that business did not really understand that business at all, which was what was painful to the business owner. Because business owner realized that, hey, I have somebody in my business that does not understand what we are doing. This person does not understand what we are doing. So obviously, the person cannot even relate. When we have issues, this person cannot communicate to our staff how to handle this issue, because person doesn't understand what we're doing. And this person is collecting salary from on my head. So that is what the business owner was angry about. And thank God, all of us as HR professionals were able to put this in perspective to this our colleague. So ask yourself, what are our products and services, right? What are they? You have to understand what you're trying to sell. It's not enough for you to document. You're not just documenting policies on what you don't know. Where does your products and services begin? Where do they begin? Where does production begin? If you're offering services, where is a point of origin of that service? When a client comes into your business, into the business that you're nurturing, and says, I want so and so service, how does it start? So you have to be able to put a point where it starts and then connect it to where it ends. How is this service delivered to our customers? Now, nobody is asking you to be the one to create the processes for all of these things. There are professionals that are supposed to create the process for all of these things. For example, in a law firm, there are legal advisors that are able to deliver these services to the clients appropriately. So as an HR professional that does not have a legal background, you may not be able to understand how to deliver these services. But however, you should know how it is being delivered. You may also want to ensure that those that are in charge of delivering these processes are also able to document it properly. And then this goes to your CEO, who appends to the process of your policies and processes in that company. That becomes part of the policies and processes in that company. Who currently drives the processes that would be that you're working with, and it's not only going to be your HR process that you're going to be seeing. However, remember that for everything to go well, it's not just going to be for a car to drive well. It's not only the engine that would work well. You also have to have body part. You have to have a seat. You have to have steering. You have to have silencer. You have to have a lot. It doesn't want to be noise. So you have to understand who drives the efficiency of the processes. Who are the people that are in charge of these processes? There are going to be point people in each department in that company who are driving the efficiencies of the processes in that department. There's somebody in this area who is passionate about driving the success of each of your products and services. Who are those people? Identify those people and find a way to document their involvement. So again, this helps you because at the end of the day, when you're creating the structure, you understand that this is what this person is doing, and this is how important these roles are to the company. If this person is, if there's somebody in your company that is passionate about certain areas and is delivering services that don't have any value to your company, services that don't have value to your company, services that is even sinking the bottom line of a company, then you need to also be able to communicate that to the business owner. So at the end of the day, I really hope that we're able to accept these changes, right? Take one pain point out of the business per time. Now, this area is very important because you're not a super woman or superman. I won't advise that anybody leaves their home and then goes into someone else's company to try to change the entire company, right? Please don't. Nobody appreciates that, no matter how nice or good you think you are or your heart is. Rather, take one pain point at a time. Understand that change is very hard for a lot of people, even for yourself. Look at the changes that we're going through for the past 2 years. But that's by the way. But understand that change is very, very hard. So it's not going to be easy for anybody to just change like that. So rather take one pain point at a time. Walk your teams through change and or learning before relearning. A lot of times we want people to just get this thing right. Want them to just get it right. It's not always going to be easy for people to just get it right. So part of running a structure would mean that whatever it is you met on ground will probably have to be unlearned before they can start relearning the structure that will help the business to grow. Another thing is championing policies and systems. There's something powerful that I did some time ago. I was working 9 to 5, and I told in where the kind of system I met on ground, my role seemed to be above the law, sort of. That means that I could tell my staff we resume by 8 o'clock and I can come to work by 11 a.m. and nothing's going to happen to me. So I had to demystify the role, first of all, and tell them that we're in this together. And then I created a 10-point system. Now, this 10-point system is basically everybody in the team, everybody in the organization, whenever you do something that is against our policy and our process, you get 1 point off. Every month, you get the point reset back to 10. So in a month, you have 10 points fresh. And anytime you go against what you have on ground, we've already agreed on ground, you get 1 point off. And over time, of course, the first month, everybody got their 10 points off. And what was the, what do I have to do? Once your 10 points is finished, you buy the entire team. You buy your team members, you buy them donuts and water. So, of course, I mean, that was fun at the time. People were like, oh, I'm spending so much money. If I spend so much money, start learning the processes. This is what you need to do. And over time, we had staff members that retained their 10 points for the entire month, got to a point that almost nobody finished their 10 points in the month. And then sometimes at the end of the month, people started doing certain things so that they can just use up their 10 points and remaining just 1 point before the month ends. So again, that also improved the culture that we had in the organization, because again, there's no role that was now mystified. There's no role that is now out of away from the law or be above the law. We had everybody was able to understand what we wanted to achieve, and we're able to do that in a very friendly environment, an environment that promotes growth and change. So it's very important that you're able to champion policies and systems in your workplace. This will help to create that business structure that you are clamoring for. Then build sustainable cultures as you build strategies. This is also part of what I just explained just now. It's important that you're able to build sustainable cultures. Cultures have to be sustainable. Now, as I said earlier when I was talking, a lot of people assume that building cultures will mean spending a lot of money. No business owner wants to spend money apart from the salary at the end of the month. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do that, really. Unless, of course, spending extra money will mean more money for me as a business owner. So it's important that you're able to build sustainable cultures that does not involve external financial input, right? Then champion a culture and a value-driven environment. Again, part of what we just talked about so far. So at the end of the day, please grow. Please continue to grow, be fruitful, and be the catalyst of where you are. I wish everyone the best. I would like to take some questions now. Dr. Adeosun.
Thank you so much. Well done. Beautiful presentation, excellent delivery.
So Dr. Adeosun, the person has given, okay.
Go ahead.
I think Nike just asked another question, and she said, I think however, it's against rule of professional conduct for lawyers to advertise in that sense. Okay, so Nike, I understand you perfectly, and I really hope you're still here. I understand you perfectly, and I get it. I really get it. However, here's the thing. A lot is changing. A lot is changing now. A lot is changing right now. I know that I know that lawyers cannot advertise. There are certain rules against that. But I'm on Instagram. We're all on Instagram. We see lawyers advertising CAC, draft CAC, draft tenancy agreement, stuff like that. I have 25 books to help you with your tenancy agreements and stuff like that. So I get it, I understand. But what I'm saying is that there has to be a way around this. There has to be a way around it. There's a way you communicate your value to your market that they will understand what you do. It may be commentary. You can do commentary videos instead of asking people to go and look for business outside, because again, you put stress on people. You probably did not tell them when you were employing them that they will be bringing business for you people. So you have to find a way around it. So it may mean that you will have to create bring an idea on board. So it could be commentary videos. Bring out videos of what happened with somebody. What are the legal implications of all of these areas? What are the legal implications of somebody doing this, right? So someone is locked up in their house. There's this recent story of a lady that came from the US and found her father in a house locked up by the sibling and the wife in Nigeria here. And she had to go through a lot to get the father back to the US. So that has happened, but what is the legal implication of locking somebody in their house? What does the law say about that? Right? Have you handled a case like that before? I think there's attorney-client privilege, but there's of course there has to be some cases in the past that speak to it, and you can discuss how that case applies to what you have on ground. A lot of times, for your service, you are service providers, if I'm correct. You're providing a service. So a lot of times it may mean that you have to show people that this is how good you are at providing this service, and then they will be able to come to you. Then fine-tune your client's onboarding experience to make it a lot more easier for people to join you. So when you fine-tune your client onboarding experience, you now see that those that are at the helm of admitting new clients, it's easier for them. Also look into the processes, your processes that involve returning clients, right? What can you offer people to come back to you or put you on a retainer? So again, if you don't show your business owner how the structure should be at the moment, they will continue operating on the premise of what the structure should be in the next 10 years and asking you to deliver what they want to be in 10 years right now. And that will put a lot of strain and burden on you and your team. So if you make this very clear, you will keep employing the wrong people until ask them to do the entirely different thing. So I hope I'm able to answer that to some extent. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Josh.
All right. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have not advised anybody to do anything illegal, unethical, or against any professional service. All right. So please, like lawyers will say, please consult with your lawyers.
Yes.
If before you say HR mentorship said, or Prince Elijah Abumeye said, you understand. But again, just today, a friend of mine who works in a bank called me, and he had worked in that bank for like 2 or 3 years. And for the first time today, he actually marketed the services of the bank to me. My brother, guess why? Because they gave him targets. So in my mind, I felt like, so if you work somewhere, even though I know you work as HR, and you really care about what they do, where you work, shouldn't you on your own have tried to get me to become your client? Should you not have asked, do you have an account with us? Do you have an investment with us? What portfolio can you run with us? So I'm bringing that up to say, generally speaking, when you are passionate, you see people who like, for example, football, Arsenal, Man U, without soliciting, they are quick and happy to share it. And I think we should get all our employees to be quick within their immediate network, okay? Friends, families, religious settings, communities, wherever they have influence, alumni association, they should be quick and eager to put our word and directly or indirectly to say, we are the best in this, we are the best in this, such that when people need your service, if there is a problem or opportunity around the service of the organization, you will be the first point of call to say, oh, we are looking for this, offline. And you can then support them or channel them to your internal colleagues who can be of service. I'm checking to see if there is any hands raised or any comments or any question. I recognize and appreciate all the people who have showed appreciation, very great delivery. I've seen fire. Thank you for the great session, and so on and so forth. All right. So if there is no further question or contribution to this very important, well-delivered session, I will like to unmute all of us so that we can verbalize our appreciation to our facilitator tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please unmute and let's say thank you to Prince Elijah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Prince
you.
Elijah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prince
It was a great
Elijah.
one.
Thank
It
you.
was
sir,
really
for
nice.
the
Thanks.
wonderful
Thank you
presentation.
for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Well
for the
done.
presentation. We appreciate you.
Thank you.